All right, so we give it some time. We just kind of give it a moment for people to join. We are live streaming now. Let me just check my iPad also and refresh it. Yes, we are live
All right.
and people should start coming in. So I
Welcome.
know I woke you up, Steve, and
It's terrible, Amar. What have you done to me?
all right, so we are live on YouTube. So good evening, everyone, and good morning, America, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Night Live with the Weekend Aquarist. My name is Amar Salvi. I am the host and the editor of the Weekend Aquarist magazine and the podcast. And today with me, I have a very, very special guest from all over around the world. And we have with us Steve Waldron of Aquarium Zen, who's joined us early morning from Seattle. Steve, welcome to the Weekend Aquarist. And thanks for making it so early in the morning. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Amar. It's wonderful to be here and connect with all the aquarium fans in India. That's a special occasion for me. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And you,
It's worth
you
waking
I
up
must tell
early
you,
for.
I must tell you, Steve, you have a quite a lot of following in India as well, and they've been following Aquarium Zen. So for those of the audience joined us and are watching this, we have Steve Waldron, who's the founder of Aquarium Zen, and he's one of North America's known voices as far as the aquarium hobby is concerned. He's a very well-known name in the aquarium aquascaping circles. He's got over 4 decades of experience in the hobby, and he had his foundational years in fish genetics. And I was just catching up with him on that. And he spent 12 years of his life studying an Indian fish. That's the zebra danio, and we'll ask him about that. And he's written extensively for the Amazonas magazine, Tropical Fish Hobbyist, and I hope to have him contribute to the Weekend Aquarist as well. And in recent years, Steve has undertaken what we may call as pilgrimages to Japan, to ADA, and he's I think Steve three visits. This is the third time that you visited
Yes,
Japan.
it's
Yeah,
three
so
visits
in
in 1 year.
three visits in 1 year, amazing. Okay, so he's done that, and he's also the person who introduced Jeff Bezos to planted aquariums. Now, what about that? Wow. So, over to you, Steve. Steve, if you don't mind, just take a moment and introduce yourself to the audience, uh, a little bit about yourself and how you got into the hobby, your starting years in genetics, fish genetics, and then moving on to the aquarium side of the world. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Amar. Yeah, it's wonderful to be here and connect with you all. Yeah, I mean, like probably everyone watching this, I've been an aquarium nerd since early childhood. There's something really compelling about keeping fish in a glass box where you get an intimacy with nature that you can't get even being out exploring in the wild. There's something about having an ecosystem of your own design sitting in your living room, in your bedroom, that you can monitor, observe, and steward
Right.
continuously, where it's just a special thing. So I've been doing that seriously since about 10 years old. I got my first job at a local fish shop when I was 14, and they made me manager when I was 15. So,
Oh,
so it's been a long journey. My first
that's
fish,
considered child labor in India.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
is
is
in America too. We had to keep it on the down low, as we say here.
okay.
um, but I was obsessed and I couldn't stop. And my first fish crush were pistogramma. And this was in the early 80s in America, and it's very difficult to find a lot of these rare fish that we take for granted nowadays. So, I would go to the local fish wholesaler with my boss and search out the tetra tanks, wild caught tetra tanks. And there would always be a few little pistogrammas hiding in the corners, little brown drab fish, and I would net them. And the wholesaler would just give them to me because he had no idea what they were. And then I would take them home and tend to them and give them distilled water and live foods, and then they would blossom into these beautiful, magnificent,
Yeah.
dwarf cichlids.
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey for me, and my interest in aquariums connected me to the world as well, because learning about the biogeography of the fish, where they come from in nature on
Right.
the planet, also taught me about a lot about the Earth itself, and it got me interested in biology. And I started studying biology in college, and I was mostly interested in ecology. How ecosystems work, and the scientific kind of understanding of that. So those
Right.
were the early days for me.
And when did you decide to kind of cross over and start Aquarium Zen?
So, as most of us know, when you have a long, I started after college, I started working at the University of California doing genetics, zebrafish genetics. And
Mhm.
like most of us, we have a long career in something, and it starts to get tedious. And I started suffering from burnout. The
Mm.
demands of academia are very intense. The pay is quite low,
Yeah.
and and it stopped being fun for me, honestly. In the early days, it was wonderful because the lab I was in, we were very cutting edge, developing new techniques and really uh, pioneering the field of zebrafish genetics in
Mm,
the
mhm.
mid 1990s. And then it just kind of got routine for me. So as my interest in science waned, I my interest in aquariums as a relief for stress, the stress I was experiencing with this career burnout, started to grow. So I would go after work, I would come after the lab, I'd come home and just put all my energy into my aquariums. And by that time, I had moved to Seattle from California, where I'm originally from. And Seattle, maybe some of the viewers don't know, but it's known here in the U.S. as one of the uh,
Mm,
rainier parts of America, and it gets quite overcast a lot, and the weather's not so nice compared to California. So I
mm,
started spending more time indoors with
mm.
my aquariums versus being out exploring like I used to in California in my free time. And it was really the weather that drove me into more serious practice. Seattle is also well known for music, Nirvana, Jimi Hendrix. These are all
Yeah.
famous artists that came from the Seattle area. And what I
Right.
realized, it's really the weather forces you to practice your art form, and I see that a lot with people here. And
Okay.
after years of being a serious aquarium keeper, but not, you know, totally obsessed. The obsession totally overtook me in Seattle. And by that time, I started developing a more serious interest in the planted aquarium. So I had done a lot of cichlids, I had done a lot of rare fish collecting, but I never really took the planted aquarium seriously. I'd known about Takashi Amano's work since the 1990s, but it just kind of seemed like something beyond me. But
Mm,
here in Seattle, we're blessed with soft water. We have very
mm,
soft water, or versus in California, we have very hard water. So
mm,
I finally had the water to create freely here with my aquarium hobby. And the local club here, also a lot of the local hobbyists were really into plants.
mm.
And so it just became just like a perfect storm, kind of. every all my energy, all the resources, all the opportunities that were coming my way were focusing me into the planted aquarium scene finally.
Awesome. So you started Aquarium Zen in 2012,
That's correct. Yeah.
and how's the aquascaping scene since then? What are some of the things that you have noticed? I mean, see, 2012 was also when aquascaping was really coming on the scene, and it's been such a long journey, and it continues to kind of grow, of course, uh, with the blessings of IAPLC and all. It gives a global platform for the hobby as well. But what has been your observations about this particular part of the hobby?
Yeah, it just continues to mature. It's still here in America, at least. It's still in its very early stages, I would say.
Okay.
People, I'm noticing, like, for example, I've been running this retail shop, Aquarium Zen, focused on aquascaping for, all these years, 12 years, 14 years. And um, I've been basically doing the same thing, offering the same thing,
Mm,
plants, fish, rimless aquariums, aqua soil, CO2 equipment, fertilizers, hardscape. And
mm,
what I'm seeing is finally people are taking it seriously and investing in their hobby. Like in the beginning, it was really hard and very infrequent to sell a CO2 system, and you can't, in my opinion, effectively aquascape without
yeah,
carbon dioxide.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm seeing now customers buying CO2 systems every day. So they're starting to take it seriously. So I'm really encouraged, and this has just happened in the last year or two. So I
Okay.
would say, for whatever reason, it's really starting to develop into more of a maturing hobby here in the US, but still in its very early stages.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So, I do have Ashraf who's joined us. Your dear friend Ashraf,
Yes,
and co-conspirator in this whole podcast, getting us together,
right.
and you did the journey together, the Celesta journey together with Ashraf, and Ashraf has posted a question over here for you. Is like, I've seen a video of his store, and he makes sure that every fish that he sells are kept in a planted aquarium. Why take the extra step?
So when I first opened my store, I my intention was to have every single aquarium as an aquascape. And prior to, opening day, the grand opening, that's how they were. And then the first weekend, they got completely trashed catching fish, and it was impossible to maintain them on a very high level. But
Mm,
what I realized, and still, selfish effectively. What I realized is I still needed the plants to provide the backbone of the ecosystem.
right.
And so I've done so I've kind of shifted things around from really artfully done aquascapes as the fish holding systems to more functional ecosystems. So I use a lot of emergent philodendrons in my fish holding tanks as
Yeah.
nitrogen export. And that's
Yes.
worked out. Also, floating plants. So, even though they're livestock and they're going to be um, sold off often quite rapidly for my customers. I'm treating them as if they're in a natural ecosystem. It's not like a bare tank with just a sponge filter in the corner. There's wood, there's plants, there's emerging plants, there's stone, there's sand, there's ADA stand in every tank.
Yeah.
So it, I, for me, it always comes back to ecology. That's the
Right.
backbone of every aquarium.
Yeah, and I would also, add over there that, the fish would show their natural colors, most natural colors, in an environment like that, which mimics their natural environment. Because if you see fishes which are kept in bare bottom tanks and all, they are in a way little stressed out most of the time, and they will not show their true colors. And that
Yeah.
often happens when you buy a fish from a fish store which comes from a bare bottom. You will not see the best of colors till they settle down in your aquarium. And if your aquarium is a planted aquarium, or more naturally set and mimicking their natural environment, they will start showing their true behaviors as well.
That's true.
So I'm going to uh, take a very quick detour and show the presentation that we've made, because the audience needs to see
Yes.
what
Let's.
I've already seen. So I'm just going to share screen, and let me know, Steve, when you see the screen, because I have only you to give me feedback right now.
Okay.
Okay, so here it is. I'm going to share screen. Oops, we went straight to the secret. Okay,
You went
so
to
we're going to
the
start from
spoiler.
this. So
Yes.
this is the Zen conversation with Steve Waldron from Aquarium Zen, and I'm going to dive straight in. And this is a thanks to our platinum partner, our sponsors, our supporters, Stillwater Aquatics and ADA India, for supporting the education, conservation, and the nature aquarium hobby in India and world over. So thanks, Adip and team. Thanks for supporting us. We would also like to thank our feature partners, the 2 Hour Aquarist and TC Nature Lab. So thanks everyone. Each and every support keeps us going as the podcast and the magazine. And I have with me Steve, and Steve has got a pleasure room, and the pleasure room is don't get mixed up with the photograph on top, guys. Look down. That's the one that is of interest to us. Okay, and we're going to drive straight in. Steve with his aquariums, and Steve, uh, some of the photographs, I'd like you to kind of tell us the story behind them as well.
Sure.
But for the audience, this is Steve with some of his projects, and a glimpse of the store as well. Steve, feel free to pause and tell me to pause and
Sure.
take
The
us through
last,
what we are seeing.
yeah, the last two slides are Amazon.com. I did some 180 centimeter shallow tanks in one of the buildings there. It was a 4-story building, and each floor had a different theme. Their Amazon has invested heavily in what's called biophilic architecture. So the idea of
Mm,
incorporating natural elements into the architectural design to just make a more inviting and comfortable space for their workers.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
every floor had a different theme. The tank I'm standing in front of, the theme was the marine environment, and I was actually trying to mimic like macroalgae with my plant selections. Like you see the AR mini, the bright
Mm,
pink
mm,
plant,
mm,
and the
mm,
Unzan stone was mimicking like islands rising
mm.
above the sea. So that was the idea with that design there.
Okay. Wow.
And
What about this one?
this was a desert theme uh, building, and I used some beautiful manzanita wood. I believe you've had Tom Barr on your
Yes.
podcast. Yes, so Tom Barr hand collected all that wood that you see there, and for this project. So I've collaborated with Tom Barr quite a bit over the years as
Awesome.
well. Yeah. So that
Awesome.
was a desert theme, and then this is again
The
the
same tank. Yeah.
yeah, the same marine tank. But at that point, this was a while ago. That was like 2018, and I was
Mm-hmm.
really into shallow designs with emergent structures. This was a temperate forest theme with the ferns, and that was a fun one. I really liked the way the hardscape worked out with this one.
This was also in Amazon.
Yes, yeah, these are
Okay.
all these have never been published before, these photos
Oh,
actually. But I
oh,
feel
okay.
like the time has gone by, and we can reveal them to the world finally.
Great,
Yeah,
great, great.
it was kind of a top secret project.
Oh man.
While I was
Okay.
aquascaping, I had a security guard with me at all times. They would confiscate my cell phone.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
actually, yeah, eventually they kind of relaxed, and I was able to sneak my cell phone in to document some of my
Okay.
designs. But what you're seeing here has never been
Right.
published.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Wow.
And
This is the
here,
famous spheres, right? Tell us about
yes.
this one.
So Amazon expanded their kind of corporate footprint in downtown Seattle heavily. Around the time I opened my store, and they had a friend of mine moved from Georgia, who I'd known a long time. I used to be a poison dart frog hobbyist as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew him from my poison dart frog hobby days. And he was a well-known hobbyist and ran a a rare frog breeding program for the Atlanta Botanical Garden. And he had
Mm-hmm.
suddenly moved to Seattle, and it was kind of strange because he had this great job in Atlanta. And then he confided in me that he was working for Amazon, and they were creating like this massive greenhouse space where they were going to, is going to be like a workspace for the workforce, and like this massive indoor rainforest, sort of greenhouse. And he, at that point, I had just opened my store, and he came by. He was blown away because they had considered rare plants, orchids, living walls, waterfalls, all these things for their rainforest, but they hadn't really
Right.
considered freshwater aquariums till they saw, my work at Aquarium Zen.
Wow.
And so then they decided to bring in aquariums to the project, which I think was the kind of cherry on the top of the whole project. The tank you see there is about 600 gallons.
Yes.
It's in the shape of a ReLU triangle, which is like a rounded triangle. So there's
Correct.
no
Correct.
90-degree angles. The fish
Right.
are in a roundabout kind of system, and that was supposed to be seating for a cafe. And
Mm.
so it was like a last minute thing, the addition of the aquariums to the spheres. And so they bumped the cafe and put this aquarium in. And I went, with the Amazon theme. If I had to choose one bioregion on Earth for my favorite fish, it'd probably be the Amazon.
Right.
And
Right.
I wasn't really trying to tie into the Amazon.com brand. It was more just my own creative interests. They gave me complete creative control to do whatever I wanted. And again, I was
Awesome.
into shallow tanks, emergent hardscape, emergent tropical plants. Uh, that was my style at the time. This was
Awesome.
around 2016.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's 10 years now. Wow.
Yeah,
But this is
time
really,
flies.
really an amazing project, and to you had a dream client. Somebody who gives you a free hand, and that too, Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, amazing, amazing.
Yeah,
How
it
was
was.
Jeff Bezos to work with?
So I didn't work with them directly. However, when the Spheres had its grand opening and their kind of media event with the, with all the luminaries, the governor was there, and he toured. They had various stations set up for the kind of paparazzi and the media to photograph him and interact with the creators. So behind this tank in this photo, there you can see the lower level of a 4-story living wall structure, for
Right,
example. So Jeff
right.
went from station to station talking to the creators of each of these design features in the spheres, and he came over to my aquarium and he was totally transfixed. It was
And we've
really
we've got a
obvious.
we've got a photograph of you with him
Yeah.
coming up. Okay, so we'll come to that, and
Okay.
I think the sequence is a bit changed, but
Okay.
This is your store. Tell us about what we are seeing.
Okay, this is the to the right of the image. You'll see the back of my store. This photo is from a few years back. It's changed a bit, but essentially it's the same. So when I started my store, my idea was I would have a gallery and do light retail just to kind of pay the rent. And the idea was the gallery would show off my aquascaping skills, and I would do a lot of installations and maintenance. That was kind of the business model I was shooting for.
Mm,
So I don't have a ton of fish holding tanks.
mm,
There, there's about 80 tanks, which is modest for a fish shop, actually.
mm.
Um, and then as time went on, I started getting. I realized I wasn't as interested in maintenance, and I was more interested in interacting with the customers and just staying put at my store. And so it evolved into more of a full-fledged retail shop as it is today. But what you're seeing is just various images around the store. The image to the right, I allowed a Bulbitis hutylodii to emerge out of the tank, and
Awesome. Yeah.
it was a great plant. The rhizomes
Yeah.
were really thick. They're like 2.5 centimeter rhizomes.
Yeah.
It was like a rope, you know, uh, winding its way around the hardscape, and I
Yeah.
that's more of my style. I've spent a lot of years in rainforests in Costa Rica, the Amazon. When I was younger, I was fascinated by rainforests. So this kind of wild, jungly style has always been my vibe. I've never really been able to contain myself, and that's why I've been taking trips to Japan to
Yeah.
learn a more refined approach. But I really do. There's something about the exuberance of the vegetation. I've
Yeah.
never really been a hardscape focused,
Right. Right.
aquascaper. I just love working with the plants, to be honest.
Right. Right.
So they're so fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here you can see some more images of pistogramma in the center, agassiz, again, one of my first loves in the fish hobby.
Yeah.
And to the right, you can see some emergent hygrophila coming out of the
Yeah.
tank. That to me, the ADA style with the pendant lights and the strong, back then they were metal halide.
Yeah.
Um, and, these are the old ADA lights that I'm using
Yeah.
primarily. And to me, that was such a revelation to have all this free space to design with above the aquarium. That was,
Right.
where the light intensity was powerful enough to drive the plant growth.
Absolutely. I had those earlier lights, the metal halides, and the green it used to give
Yes,
was
it's a
amazing,
it's
just
a
amazing.
special color that
Yeah.
as much as I love the solar RGBs, I
Yeah.
do kind of miss that unique
Yeah. Yeah.
green wash. And there's a
Yeah.
crispness to that metal halide light
Right.
that you
Right.
can't get from LED. But
Right.
they were very they use a lot of energy. And
Right. Yeah,
they
I
almost
was
act
coming to
like
that. I was not sure whether that would have been appropriate to say, but you said it. They, they were amazing lights, but being metal halides, I think they were not good on your power bill. So that was there.
they did kind
Yeah.
of function as a room heater, and that's good. I needed that. And
What's
so
what's this?
so this image, I sell. This is some sansui stone, 8A sansui stone, and I'm just balancing it on a scale there to weigh it out for sale for that family back there. So it's really been reaching out to the community and sharing a lot of these people walking in for the first time are seeing a planted aquascape for the first time in real life
Right.
when they come into my store. The image
Right.
to the left shows some of our local scenery, local nature. We're blessed by a lot abundant water here in Seattle, and I take walks a lot around the coastal areas and observe the driftwood formations and the rock
Mm.
formations. So it's just a little scenery from our
Right. Right.
uh, local world. Here, Aquarium Zen has a hardscape dojo. That's the center picture there. The
Right.
photograph in the back is a Takashi Amano original that Sayuri-san, his daughter, sent to me as thanks for working with the Origin of Creation book. So I did
Okay.
play a role in helping with the English language version of
Oh.
the Origin of Creation. Yeah, they
Oh. Okay.
they I used to write articles for Amazonas and Tropical Fish Hobbyist magazine, so I had
Right.
some notoriety as a aquascaping writer, and so I was recommended for this job to after Takashi Amano-san passed,
Right.
they wanted to publish his biography, and so they
Right.
had a rough English language translation, and I kind of just cleaned it up so it sounded more like a native speaker.
Right.
I didn't
So,
do the
so
translation.
so this is so amazing. So you're telling me that the the origin of creation book that I have is
Yes.
translated by you.
It was refined by me, not
Oh,
translated.
awesome.
I don't
Oh,
know Japanese, but I did the final sort of
awesome.
wash of language.
Oh, this
Yes.
is amazing. I've got that book right over here.
Yeah,
Okay, if I get up, the camera will follow me, and that's going to go all over the place. But let me try that out. Okay. Ow. Ow.
yeah, that was a special project because it kind of landed in my lap
Awesome.
as a
Awesome.
surprise, and I only had 2 weeks to complete the translation. So I was working night and day to finish this project, and it was shortly after Mano-san passed. And because of
Mm,
such a in-depth, uh, concentrated effort, I really felt his consciousness flowing through me. It was a beautiful
awesome.
experience, I have to say.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of reading that for the first time, being the first person to read that in the English language,
Right.
and it was a very special project that
It
I was
is, and
honored.
it's a very special book, in my collection personally, and this is what I would recommend to viewers. Also, I did this in the last episode also, but this one I read coincidentally. Thanks for giving us that connection, Steve, and for those of you who are interested, and those of you from India who are interested in buying this, it's available. Very limited stock with Stillwater Aquatics, so you can buy it from them. Hey, Steve, amazing. Yeah, that was great. That was
Yes, yeah,
absolutely something so impromptu, and I was so glad that this came about. Oh, here we are.
yeah.
And this
This is
photograph must be really old, huh? Somebody is.
Well, this is from
Uh,
the news. This is actually from the Wall Street Journal. I made it in the Wall Street Journal.
okay.
So this is a scan of a newspaper, and
Right.
it shows myself and Bezos observing, the spheres tank. But he was just transfixed by this aquarium. You could tell he was spending extra time with me asking questions. He asked some interesting questions, and you know he I felt pretty comfortable with him, honestly. So for me that worked out because his staff observed his interest in the aquarium, and from there I got a number of other jobs at Amazon, and I eventually
Awesome.
installed six total aquascapes there, and so it was a
Yeah.
wonderful experience for me for sure. But
Awesome. Awesome.
he was into it. You could really tell that he is fascinated
Yeah.
by this creation.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
And
And this is I
this is the
yeah.
tank he's pointing to. It's the one we talked about previously. It's about
Right.
600 gallons in the ReLU triangle shape, and
Right.
these photos are great, but unfortunately, they don't show the whole context of this indoor rainforest that surrounds it.
Right. Right.
That the aquarium's kind of nestled into, but it
Right.
just fit perfectly. It wasn't part of the original design. It was a last minute addition, and it really there's something about adding the animal element, the fish, that just kind of
Right.
tied the whole. It was really essential, and become has become one of the favorite exhibits there at the Spheres for sure.
Awesome. And I must add for the audience that this is from the Amazonas magazine. The photographs have been, taken from the Amazonas magazine. That's the link below. You can search it up, and that article is also written by Steve. Okay, so that's giving due credit where it belongs. Thanks for sharing this, Steve.
Oh, my
Uh,
pleasure.
now we've entered the
Entered the
real
motherland.
aquascaping, yeah, aquascaping zone. So this is about your Japan trip. Now I have a question before that, and
Yes,
you've really spent a significant amount of time in Japan learning directly from the Suki masters. Uh,
yes.
and what did you discover over there that possibly couldn't be learned from books or watching on social media and everything? Okay, uh, I firmly believe is that you need to kind of be there, do it for the learning to be 100%, right? You can't just learn by watching, you have to do it. But I want to know from you, what is it that drew you to Japan and to learn from the Suki masters itself?
Well, of course, it's Amano-san, Takashi Amano. His genius is what drew me to Japan. I've always had an interest in Asian cultures. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had a lot of friends from Asian backgrounds, so I was very comfortable with the Asian aesthetic, and it always fascinated me. But Amano-san's genius has just always been something since I've started my career in the aquarium, my latest career in the aquarium field, it's really a monosan that I've been orbiting around, and the kind of the mystery of his excellent design and creativity. And I'm just constantly in awe of it, and constantly just want to learn from it. And it's just something that I feel it's almost like a spring, like a that just keeps generating beautiful energy in my life. So I just constantly keep coming back to it. And so it was not enough to just observe it from the books,
Right,
to mimic it with my own aquascaping
right,
designs. I had to experience it in person. And I finally had the opportunity and the resources to do that last year. And then I became completely hooked on Japan. It's such a wonderful culture. It really, there's an an essence to the Japanese culture that's rooted in nature, the Japanese aesthetic, and it's not just the aquarium hobby, it's almost everything.
mm,
So almost everywhere you go, you're going to absorb design ideas that just exist, naturally in the cultural environment there.
mm,
And
mm,
so I found myself exploring, the Zen garden temples. As an American, we don't have this kind of history where you can walk into a temple that's been continuously maintained for 1,000 years or something.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
something that's really exciting for me to be in a culture that has such ancient history. And
right,
and then again and then having the opportunity, the connection, because I had kind of a unique connection with Aqua Design Amano. I worked on the Origin of Creation book with Sayuri-san, his daughter. I was one of the few North American distributors of 88 products back, in the earlier days. And so we have kind of a long relationship. So
mm,
whenever I do go to ADA, I'm welcome there as kind of a family member. It's a great feeling. The hospitality I receive there is just wonderful. So it just keeps drawing me back, and every experience is unique. The ADA staff are so thoughtful and detail oriented. They have always gone out of their way to make sure I have an amazing
right,
time there.
right.
So it's
And these photographs are from your recent trip with the Celesta journey in
yes, yeah, where I met
Japan.
Ashraf, yeah, and you can see some images. One thing, this in this image to the bottom left, that's actually a rock garden from a hotel, one of the hotels we stayed at. So just kind of like the ordinary design that you see like in a hotel or just in the streets, they often feature these rock gardens, which
Mm.
fascinates me. That's something I'm really trying to understand. That's not something you're just going to see casually here in America,
Right.
for example. So the
Right.
Japanese have a real fondness, appreciation for stone arrangements, and that's something I'm hoping to dive in deeper. But you see some various images. The center images is Takashi Amano's personal Altum Angel Aquarium, this famous
Right.
personal aquarium.
Right.
And the aquarium to the right is also a Takashi Amano original that's been maintained by the staff there. So they
Right.
still maintain I believe it's three Iwagumi style aquascapes at the Nature Aquarium Gallery, and then his personal aquarium. And there are, is it three aquascapes at the Sumida Aquarium that are maintained.
Wow.
So, after
Amazing.
those are like 14-year-old tanks that they
Yep.
maintain in pristine condition. They taught me how they manage to do that. What they do is they keep the hardscape in place, very careful about that, and they will siphon off the top layer of soil and replenish it when they replant. So they can kind of indefinitely maintain these designs that way. And
Just amazing.
they look like they were created, a
Yeah.
few months ago. They're just
Yes.
pristine condition.
Yes. Yes.
So it's if in I highly, luckily through the Celesta Journey program, if you have the resources, anyone in the public can join and have this experience. It's not
Yeah.
limited to someone who's like myself who has a bit of an insider connection. So
Right.
they are you can view these. It is possible, and I
Uh,
highly encourage
yeah.
serious aquascapers to
Yeah.
do it, because this is it. This is the epicenter of where the
Correct.
whole hobby comes from.
Yeah.
So here's some more images from our journey in Japan. The image to the left is from a beautiful round circular window viewing a Zen garden in the mountains of Niigata. And that's a fascinating image because it just kind of almost feels like an aquarium in a way.
Yes,
You
it is.
and it just
Yeah.
has this window into this beautiful natural creation. I find the Zen gardens infinitely fascinating. I've experienced a lot. I spent a month in Kyoto on my first trip, where some of the most famous Zen gardens are, and there's one called Ryoanji. I think that inspired Takashi Amano to develop the Iwagumi style. So that one has a very famous dry garden style with the sand and sparse, rock emerging from it. Um, and then over to the right, we see some more images from Sado Island,
Oh
where
yeah.
we went. So wherever you go in Japan, you are just constantly receiving inspiration for your aquascapes. These
Yeah.
coastal rock formations inspired Takashi Amano, again, with developing the Iwagumi style. It's very clear, these emerging beautiful stone islands emerging out of rather monolithic, um, fields of water, or in our case, carpeting plants. But it's just so beautiful, and it's just so compelling. I'm going to be 55 years old, and I feel like Japan has rejuvenated me because it's given me a whole new world whole new set of adventures to look forward to,
Right. Right.
and given me
Amazing.
something to strive for. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
And luckily, I never got to meet Amano-san, but I am friends with Homa-san, his protege, the probably the most highly regarded aquascaper in the Amano style in the world, I would say. He is
Right.
the master. He's very humble, nice person to, I'm proud to call him my friend. He's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he was our guide. We spent every day with him, learning
Mm.
from him. And just a rare opportunity to be in the presence of a master who's not also a master creator, but just a masterful human being. He's just
Right.
a wonderful, wonderful person.
Right.
And here we are in the forests of Sado Island. We explored a ancient sugi. Sugi is the Japanese cedar, and the Sado Island receives a massive amount of snow that kind of drifts in from Siberia. These storms that come in from Siberia in the winter, and it piles up, and it gives these cedar trees, which would grow normally straight, gives them a lot of character. The harshness of the climate challenges them, and the stress actually creates this beauty in the
Yeah.
trees. And there we are exploring, Sado Island. It's one of the largest islands off the coast of the main island of Japan. I think it is the largest island, and it just has a peacefulness, a quietness that I've not experienced elsewhere. It's so beautiful, and the forest we were
Amazing.
in was,
So beautiful.
yeah, it was lovely. So you're just constantly surrounded by beauty. Uh, and Niigata is lesser known for foreign tourists. Some people go there to ski in the winter, but it's not a place that most foreign tourists get to visit. So for me, it's been a wonderful opportunity to get off the beaten path and explore other parts of Japan besides Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto, where most of the foreign tourists go, and see something really authentic there. And we got to follow, Homa-san's also an accomplished photographer. He started as Takashi Amano's Sherpa in a way. He would
Yeah.
carry his gear up the mountain and, load the cameras while the master was taking his pictures. And he was also, absorbing uh, his knowledge and getting instruction from Amano-san. So Hama-san's an accomplished nature photographer in his own right, and our time at Sado Island was timed so perfectly with the blooming of these daylilies. It's an endemic species of yellow lily there in Sado Island, and along the coast, there's just these massive fields of these yellow flowers, and the contrast, the yellow, the green, the blue sky, the black rock, the ocean beyond, something like out of a movie set. I mean, it really was magical. Part of
And
my
the one on the right is where he recreated what
Yes,
he
yeah,
saw.
he didn't tell us. So we spent 3 days in the field in nature with the Celesta journey, and then we come back to the Nature Aquarium Gallery, the ADA headquarters, and then the first day we're there, we observe Hamasan creating an aquascape based on his impressions of our time together in the field. So it's very special because we've all shared in the same experience. We were together, and he didn't tell us, which part of the journey was that had inspired him and what he was going to create for. We had to kind of guess as he went along, and then eventually he did reveal this one stream section of a stream that had inspired him. So that was very special because obviously he's the master. We can't create on his level, but we all participated in the same vision, the same experience that he did. So I felt it was very personal sort of interaction that very unique to this Celesta journey experience. And of course, we got to witness going from an absolute bare bottom aquarium to a
Right.
masterful layout, uh, all in one
Right.
one sitting.
Right. And when I was chatting up with Ashraf did share the photograph which was the inspiration for this
Oh,
aquascape.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So the viewers have seen that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
They.
the one of the things that being in the presence of the Sukiya creators, they've done this for so long, it just flows so effortlessly from them, and
Right.
that's one of the wonderful things to see. Here we are with Amano-san's wife, and
Right.
she, I believe, is now head of the company now. And we're
Right.
standing in her living room in front of Takashi Amano's famous personal aquarium. So that was a wonderful experience. That to me, that was the reason I really 100% I had to go on the Celesta journey without any question when it was offered to me because I had never experienced Takashi Amano's personal aquarium, and that something that inspired, that tank has inspired my creation for the spheres tank as well. So I based
Right.
the design using ferns, emergent, driftwood, emergent tropical plants. That all came directly from Takashi Amano. So that's what I'm saying.
Excellent.
We owe everything to Amano-san,
Right.
and we're just constantly repeating his his artistry, his patterning when we're aquascaping, honestly. So it was a great
Awesome.
honor to. I've met Mrs. Amano on a number of occasions now, but it was wonderful to be in her home and her generous
Yeah.
hospitality. She's a really fun, lively person to be with, and she's very sweet. The whole Amano team, they're just
Yeah.
like the sweetest people. They're just some of the nicest people you can imagine.
Right. Absolutely. And I think this is the last photograph. So yeah. Okay. So I'm going to pause over here. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm not going to read out the last slide. Just give me a moment while I stop share, and we can then continue. Okay, so stop share over here. Wow, this was amazing, Steve. One of the things doing a live podcast like this is that you're limited by what you can show. Okay, and obviously, if
Right.
it's a pre-recorded one, you can put in elements and all. But when you take us through your journey, even with the photographs and all, and hearing you say all of this is here, all of this is amazing because you can actually. I felt transported, and I felt I was there as you
Oh,
were saying
great.
all of this. So it was
Exciting.
awesome, and I hope to have you more often
Sure,
on the
sure.
Weekend Aquarist podcast. Do share with us your updates, your journeys, your travelogues. I believe you're going to go back to Japan
Yeah.
very soon,
Yeah, I'll be
and
going back in October, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next step. That trip will be very focused on Iwagumi. So we'll
uh-huh,
be traveling to the river valley where the Hakai stone, the famous Japanese
right,
Hakai stone, is found, and
right,
really focused on the Iwagumi style. For me, that is the most challenging aquascaping style. It's one I've kind of avoided over the years,
right,
honestly, because I just love working with dense plantings, and it is very obviously focused on the hardscape. So I'm really excited to learn from Homa-san in this next stage of the journey. And that's really what I hope I tried to convey today is if you take your aquarium hobby seriously, it will just transport you on a journey through life. It's amazing.
yeah,
When you're creating with nature, you're tapping into something really magical. And if you take it seriously, it and you just kind of surrender to this flow wherever it takes you. It's a beautiful journey. I feel so blessed that this kind of landed into my lap, into my life, and I just had the makeup to be an aquarist. And it's something to it's a several thousand-year-old tradition. People have been keeping fish just for their beauty, for their ornamental value for a long time. It's something to take seriously. A lot of people consider it a hobby. They're fish nerds. That's kind of the self-deprecating attitude needs to be abandoned and take it very seriously, like I see in Japan, as a lifestyle, a pursuit, a true art form, and
right.
it will take you places that you never could imagine.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts also. I just had one announcement to make. This is coming from our sponsor, Stillwater Aquatics. They're having a aquarium shop owners meet, a regional partners meet coming up in Bangalore on 15th of July. And if you are an aquarium store owner in and around Bangalore, you must, visit and be part of this regional partners meet. If you are interested, the WhatsApp number is 636 46 17888. That is 636 4617 Okay, and with that, I'm not going to, get into any more announcements. Steve, it's been such a pleasure having you on the Weekend Aquarist, and
Thank you, Mar.
just wanted to thank you. I just didn't realize how the time flew by, and thank you for getting up early and uh, making it. So,
My
thanks
pleasure.
once
Yeah,
again.
it's a great honor to be here, and yeah, I hope we could do it again in the future. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to share, and
We will.
I would love to connect with you. Yeah,
We
thank you.
will.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
to
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks for joining, and I'm going to end the stream over here. So, have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, if we just stop over here, just a minute.